what's really top of mind for us right now, I feel like, is like thinking about how to add the material into like the company brain and building that part out. Have you thought? I mean, were you thinking about that elsewhere during the week and everything?
Yeah, 100%. I think the company brain is such an interesting concept. I mean, I think Karpathy kind of brought that to life and brought it to reality. I mean, it's so useful when you can kind of start from the advantage of having the AI already know what it needs to know about your company. I mean, obviously, I'm curious how you think about it. I mean, there's different areas of a business, and you normally train employees in different ways depending on which sector of the business you're talking about. Like you train someone in support differently than someone in engineering. So how do you give them the context that you need? How do you give the AI the context it needs? Something I heard recently is that there's maybe this kind of shift towards a universal company agent that can kind of do it all in a sense. So I think that's kind of how I think about the company brain, just something that knows it can really do anything inside of a company. I think that's maybe how this market is shifting. How do you think about the company brain?
I'm wondering what it's going to be like with some of these, as the model capabilities keep on scaling up. They keep hill climbing this stuff. It's getting pretty crazy. I mean, just this week we had Opus 4.8 release, and GPT 5.5 is insane. I mean, I know you've been like using it a little bit in Codex and everything, and just the state of the current frontier models, like they're just so powerful. It just is like how much smarter these things are going to keep on getting smarter and smarter. And yeah, I just feel like I do feel like it's gonna be more of that thing where there's like maybe like a kind of one model that knows like where everything is, or one model that is able to go across everything like that, like how you're kind of
Yeah.
talking about like that. And just as these things get increasingly more intelligent, that one agent you go to is going to become just more and more useful. I think about that sometimes, like they're just, like the context window, for example, is something where historically, like that's a limiter. And so you need to like have different agents that are like a sales agent that just has all
Yeah.
the sales context, and a design agent that has all the design context, and like, or start to split them up more in those kind of ways. But I think that there's a world where these things pretty much have like pretty much infinite context, and
Yeah, that's a great point.
you need less models. Like I don't think you need as many like, I feel like that you can have one that's just really knows everything about the company. Yeah, like that's going to be so huge. Like, I don't know. I noticed that with my use of how I use AI, like I prefer it if I can just like be ripping it in one place, one, like I'm not jumping between Codex and Claude Code and OpenClaw and ChatGPT. Like I
Yeah.
would rather it just be in one place. And I'm not in that one place navigating between folders and everything. But I think that right now you do need to do that to get the best results. But I think that's like a limited time thing.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I heard the All In podcast a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about, I mean, it was Benioff talking about how he spends like 300 million a year on like tokens for engineers to develop,
Okay.
using like Claude Code, Codex, whatever it is. And I think it's an interesting idea that there needs to be, I guess OpenRouter is kind of becoming this tool, but there needs to be some sort of tool that allows you to optimize your costs, because I'd assume right now companies are paying way too much on the engineering side for their developers to use AI, because they're just using the frontier models for everything, using the Opus 4.8 for everything.
Yeah.
When in reality, you don't need that for every single task. So I think that's going to become more and more important. I mean, I know OpenRouter just raised a huge amount of money. They're crushing it. And that's basically what they're doing. So I think it's super, super cool. I mean, I think apps like Codex are giving you that type of feel where, I mean, I was just reflecting on this. I mean, even just seeing your desktop, looking at your Mac, I mean, your desktop is super clean, even though you actually use a lot of apps. But I'd imagine for you, like which apps are you actually using the interface still of the app itself?
Yeah, totally. It's totally, I think it's like it's shrinking totally. I think that's cool that And I'm actively trying to do that. Like I actively try to take, apps out of the normal like day to day that like I need, like on my bottom toolbar and everything like that. Um, on my Mac, like I try to have as few apps on there as possible, like no apps on the desktop. And yeah, I've totally seen it like trending in that way. Especially like with Codex. I mean, Codex is like the super app now. Like one thing that's been interesting for me is that I I love using Codex and Telegram for my email. So
Yeah.
like I hardly ever even use my email app anymore, which seems like crazy to me to say because it used to be in that all the time, like in Superhuman or in Apple Mail or Notion Mail all the time. And now the agents are so good at understanding my email that I would way rather have them go through it all and then explain to me what are the things I need to respond to and in what order. And then like, oh yeah, by the way, here are things I already drafted responses for based on your meeting notes of this client last week. You know,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like the velocity. I'm not switching between apps. I'm not switching like all these things. I'm noticing that as Codex becoming that super app, and I think that's really what OpenAI is trying to do. I think that Claude is struggling with this a little bit. I noticed this from a design perspective that the Claude like Mac OS app it looks like a Frankenstein monster. There's like these 3 or 4 tabs. You got like code and chat and dispatch and co-work and there's all these different buttons on it and everything like that. And I feel that the Codex app is really just super streamlined. Like it's just a chat window. And from a product perspective, I think that the OpenAI did a really good job handling that, even though they're behind. Like Claude Code, what was the agentic coding tool, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, how do you think about like a tool like Cursor versus Claude Code? Because Cursor is a harness that's able to use all the models, including their own model
yeah,
now, versus a Claude Code that's just built for Anthropic models. Because it seems like people kind of switch between Codex and Claude Code based more so to me. I mean, more so to me based on how good the model itself is, right?
yeah,
Like when GPT 5.5 was maybe people thought it was better than Opus 4.6. They switched to Codex.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how do you think about it, like a Cursor versus the apps built by the frontier models?
I think you're totally right on the money with like people switch because of the models. Like, Opus 4.8 came out this week, and that was a huge reason why like I was doing a lot of work in Claude Code this week instead of in Codex. Like I didn't really do so much in Codex this week. Um, but so like I think that that's totally right. Like the model makes you kind of shift, and I feel like the harnesses are super important. So like Cursor as a harness or Claude Code as a harness for like the Opus models or Codex as a harness for GPT like 5.5 or whatever. Like that those harnesses are super important. And that I think it's important to think about the incentives like for these companies and everything, like, and who's going to be able to build a better harness. Like I feel like the best people to build a harness for Opus 4.8 are the people that made Opus 4.8, like they understand it really deeply. And so I think that they'd be able to update their harness Claude Code faster than, like coding harnesses to be fully optimized for Opus 4.8 and getting the best, making sure that customers have the best experience with Opus 4.8. Like you're fully in the Claude ecosystem. Now, like, that's how I think about Cursor, where I'm like, when you take one step out of the Claude ecosystem, now you're in Cursor's ecosystem using the Cursor harness with the Opus 4.8 model. Like, and now how did the Cursor team think about optimizing the 4.8 model and the code that it generates versus the Claude Code team? That's it. Like, I think that that's where you get a little bit of a differing result in both how good the output quality is that the model gives you and also how many tokens it uses, like maybe Anthropic in Claude Code makes it so that Opus burns tokens like crazy, and they're a little bit more willy-nilly about how much tokens they let Claude burn or Opus 4.8 burn Claude Code. But maybe Cursor is like, oh, we found these new ways to like, be more token efficient. And I've heard them talk about that. Is that being one of the things to sell the Cursor harness or use Cursor is, well, you're going to use less tokens. Your models are going to be more token efficient. We focus a lot on that. We study all the models. We study how, and across all of our learning, it's kind of like how you guys are learning with all these different companies with Mach 1. Cursor is learning with all these different models. And they're like, okay, we've tuned our harness to use the best practices from for what we learned from, in the real world with all the models. So that's how I think about it. I think it's like, and I'm a really big believer in full stack control. Like the companies can create the best kind of products or really great products get created and unlocked when a company has full stack control. Like right now we're recording our pod and Shoreline and Will's Tesla. And like we both love Tesla. We're both Tesla owners. Like, and Tesla is like one of the full stack companies. Like this car, there are no other companies are touching, an experience in this car. Tesla designs everything. Like, software, hardware, firmware, everything about it. Like, they're like, we're not going to let anybody else like mess up the user experience of driving a Tesla. They're like, we want to control everything. And I feel like the way that Tesla thinks about somebody experiencing driving a Tesla, Anthropic thinks about somebody driving Claude Code and using Opus. Like we want them to have the best thing, and yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that full stack is really important.
Yeah. No, it's super interesting. I mean, on the theme of Tesla, like something I was thinking about a couple of weeks ago is that like if you that SpaceX image where it has the rocket engines, it has the really complex engine, and then over time you make it simpler and simpler.
Yeah,
there's the I think it's an Einstein quote about make it as simple as possible, but not simpler. And I think it's super interesting. Like you think about the interior of a Tesla, and it's really probably one of the simplest cars, at least to the eye. It's just super clean visuals. There's no dials. There's nothing like that. It's all built into the car. But under the hood, as you were talking about earlier, it's one of the most, it basically is a computer on wheels. I mean, it has the most going on underneath the hood, even though it feels the simplest, which I think is really cool, kind of shifting gears into that. I mean, I'd be curious if you could talk a little bit about what you were telling me earlier with like, maybe if you're a Tesla owner, you could basically rent out your car for compute power and things like that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So cool. I'm so hyped about this. I just think it's the coolest time. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Tesla and huge fan of they're just, and SpaceX just did this deal with Anthropic. Like compute's the question right now, right? Everyone is compute constrained and including Cursor. We were just talking about them. Like they're compute constrained too and everything. And that's been one of the things like they're trying to battle with. And the Tesla, like Elon's companies are figuring out the compute issues. Like they're really focusing really hard on the compute issues, and they're solving that problem for other AI companies like Cursor and Anthropic, which is awesome. So, I just think that everyone's trying to figure that out right now. Like, what is the best equation, the best way to take electrons and turn them into tokens? Like, how do we take electricity and turn it into tokens, super efficiently? We need like way more tokens. And I just think that there was an interview with a Tesla employee that went super viral a few months ago, and then it got taken down. The interview got taken down, I believe, and that employee got like separated from Tesla. I think they got laid off or something because they weren't supposed to share this stuff.
Yeah.
But he was talking about this concept of, I always thought it was so interesting, and Will and I talked about this. I mean, I used to drive for Uber, which is funny. And like Will and I talked about how Tesla, one of the things, robo-taxis coming out and everything. And the service that Elon's talked about before is that this idea where when you're not driving your car during the day, you could rent it out to the robo-taxi fleet, and it can go and be like an Uber, drive people around, and you start making revenue from your car, like doing this work for you. And it's like kind of passive income essentially. And then it's wild because all of it, like, never before has a car like been an asset, right? But now it becomes an asset that can actually, it's like an investment, that makes money, because it drives around for you. But now in a similar vein, I've heard, and this checks out that Tesla would be thinking about this is like, we could take just how we could use our customers' cars when they're not using it to do this thing where it improves the customer satisfaction and makes the customer a little money and gives us a fleet for our Tesla robo taxis. That in a similar vein, we could, when a customer is not using their car, we could pay them to use it, but it stays parked in their garage and it just connects remotely to the Tesla servers. And as you're saying, this computer on wheels, you just refactor, tell the GPUs instead of driving the car to generate tokens, generate tokens at Will's house and then send those tokens to Tesla. It's just like, and you imagine that, yeah, there's not like a super fancy NVIDIA GPU or a Google TPU inside of these cars. But the processors on them are pretty good and they're built for AI workflows. This
For
is like
sure.
the real first application of real world AI is like Tesla's AI and in their cars that Andre Karpathy built that. It's just like, it's so that is a world that's becoming possible. It's just, and everyone's talking about token budgets are blowing up and are being crazy. And what if like we could use people's Teslas to just generate tokens, and that's a way that now you have SpaceX generating tokens, from the Dyson swarm in space, and then on Earth you have all the Teslas generating tokens too.
Yeah. So on that topic, I'm curious because you mentioned something earlier about the token maxing topic and how that relates to, and how the concept of token maxing differs depending on the incentives of the people in an organization.
Yeah.
Like for context, we were talking about this organization. For example, at Dell, there is a incentive to basically use as many tokens as possible for employees. So at the end of the day, if the incentive is to just burn tokens, like if employees have to go burn tokens as part of their quota, they end up just sending the AI useless tasks to hit their quota. But if the incentive to use tokens is actually to generate value, then maybe that's more healthy. So there's this massive continuum of people literally just lighting tokens on fire to hit quotas and appease people, which is a complete waste. And then all the way to the other side, which is like a CEO, for example, who's doing things they can never do before to add value to their business. So maybe you could talk a little bit about like the concept of token maxing and how that relates to company incentives.
Yeah, totally. I love the token maxing thing. I love how it's like, because I think it came from the whole like look maxing thing, that like look maxing era with this like full clavicular guy. It's so
retard maxing.
Yeah, the retard maxing too. Yeah, I love that. It's so funny. All the maxing stuff is hilarious.
Yeah,
but yeah, like token maxing. It's such an interesting like topic, and we're huge fans of Naval Ravikant, and I was listening to this podcast that he was like shot the other day and shared the other day, and it was like him talking to some other founders. One of them was the founder of Vercel, Guillermo, and so they're talking about this idea of like, is that the right thing to like? Should you be more careful about burning tokens, or how do you think about that? And because it's a real thing, like that. All these horror stories are starting to come out now about how like these teams have burned way too many tokens, and like there was no value outputted from it. And I think that might be true for people that are not like owners of the company, or that are not super aligned with making they're not super fired up about making the company super successful. Yeah. But I think that if you're a founder, like what Naval was explaining, that, there are certain things that he just wouldn't do. Like the certain tasks or efforts or different things he would try to build or wouldn't try to do if he didn't have the AI helping him do it. Yeah. And so it's sometimes in increasingly more as these models are getting more intelligent, that when he goes and has that little random side thought or thing he wants to do that he normally would be like, that'll take too much time or I won't do. He does it, fires a prompt off to Claude Code or Codex, and he goes and builds this thing out. And that oftentimes it actually is stuff that is really valuable to him and that ends up like being something cool.
Yeah.
And that before it just is like, you either wouldn't do it or like, you would like ask somebody else to do it, like you would hire somebody to do it. and or have somebody on your team do it. That's where that task kind of fits into their responsibilities and everything like that.
Yeah.
But there is friction in that, and that's one of the things I think Naval is really good at is is noticing the friction in these things and like how information moves between businesses and how like in tech processes. And that is a thing where there is friction in that. Like you're thinking about, okay, who on my team am I going to ask about this, and how am I going to like phrase this to them, and like how am I going to ask them to fit this into their existing work and all that kind of stuff. Like there's just more baggage that comes along with passing that task off, and so a lot of times everyone's doing that calculus in their head about, is this worth it or not to ask my employee to do it, or for me to go try to do this, and that a lot of times the answer was no. But that now, since you could just fire up a prompt to Claude or to Codex to go and do this stuff, that you're more likely to do it, and it gets done, because these things are a lot better in a lot of ways. If you set them up right, the right harness, the right tools and connectors, they are better than a lot of employees. They are better, and they actually they try really hard to make it right, to really make it happen. And that's why I think it does come down to this caring part, where I think if you care a lot, and then you're going to get really good use out of those tokens, and it's going to be worth it. But like, if you're kind of somebody who doesn't really care that much about whether or not the company is like that successful, and you're not, and you have this new token quota budget like you're supposed to hit, and then it's like, you're not really going to try to make sure every one of those tokens is used in a valuable way. You're not going to really actually try to be it's so important to be thoughtful about, what you ask it to do. And I don't know, I think that caring part matters a lot. I'm more in the Naval camp, where it's like, keep trying these things, and like keep trying to just keep on trying to do more. Like, I think we talk about this a lot with Chris too. Like, just like do more, just keep on thinking about it, trying to do more, and that so much more is possible now to companies than never was before. I think that camp, I'm in that camp of like, try to do things that are new and different and hard. And as long as you're optimizing for that, and you really think it could help the business, don't worry about the tokens,
100%. I mean, I totally buy that. I think that applies to just life in general too. Like, I was listening to Creative Act on the way here.
Yeah.
And I think there's this concept of like, there's a seed. If you have a seed of an idea, you don't really know how that seed's going to materialize in the real world until you actually try it. Like, for example, our thesis today was, hey, maybe we go up to the top of a mountaintop and film some content, and like basically see how that goes. And we had no idea how it was actually going to go. I don't even know how it went after we haven't really seen the content yet. Maybe it turned out really well. Maybe it didn't. But I think it's this idea that now there's just the ability to try so many different things and see how they pan out. And to your point on the token maxing thing, like, I mean, maybe, for example, you go try 10 different projects, 9 of them completely fail, but this one new thing that you had an idea for is now like something that's pivotal to your business. So I think it just gives you the ability to iterate on so many things, and kind of see what's working, what's not, and test a lot more things faster, because you could never go hire an engineering team to go do most of these projects. And therefore they just go completely untested, unproven, even though there might be huge value lying in there somewhere. So yeah, I think it's super interesting concept. I mean, we were talking today about just how the pricing structure works on these coding models and these coding tools. For example, like for those who don't know, I mean, you pay Codex or Claude Code $200 a month to basically get access to their top tier. And they give you a quota for how many tokens you can use in 5-hour increments and then weekly increments. And basically your job is to get as much value from the tool as you can in that allotted time frame. And it's a much different mindset when you've already paid for that $200 and you're just trying to extract as much value you can out of that $200, versus if you're going and paying the model every single time. Because even if you were to kind of go pay the model every single time you were to do something, you probably are going to do a lot less things, because you're going to say, you're going to frame it as, this could cost me $5 or whatever, so I'm not going to do it, even though that $5 experiment could actually be what is the huge unlock in your business. So, I mean, I think it's interesting how these model companies are pricing these products as well. And I thought, I mean, how you have that whole, um, kind of, you were talking about the OpenClaw founder, Steinberger, you have his thing on your desktop and you're switching between Codex, Claude Code to optimize your plans, which is absolutely wild. Yeah, I'm curious. What struck me today is you were talking about, I mean, for those who don't know, Prism has like a pretty significant following, on Instagram. I think you have like what, 40,000 followers on Instagram or something like that. I'm curious how you ended up finding that kind of perfect framework and way to scale up your Instagram, because I know it took a lot of iterations. So I'm curious if you could talk about that.
Yes, dude. Yes. It's so cool. It's so fun. I mean, on the IG side, it comes back from, I actually just, I think I discovered it really like when I used to do YouTube, like gaming videos back in the day. And that was when I first kind of discovered like the question I was going in to answer, that like I learned when I had like my YouTube channel that when I was younger, making my gaming videos, that the question that was important to ask for like every piece of content is like, how do we make content that's like easy for us to do, but that is maximally valuable to the target customer? So for in my case, like, how do I make a video that's like super easy for me to record from a gaming perspective, but that like my audience of gamers would love it, or like that they're going to love it more than all the other content on YouTube, that they're going to start to click on my thing. Like, what's that going to be? Um, and for me, in like the gaming days, it ended up being a Let's Play series, because it's just like, it's a continuous thing. It's something that someone like, if they see it again, they'll like want to watch the next part. So it's kind of like this retention, getting them to come back and everything like that is a good signal for you. But it was just really like easiest to edit. And in my gaming world, it was kind of like people just wanted like my natural kind of personal takes on what was going on in the game. And so this kind of, the content was the best from that series. And similarly on the Prism side of things, I was like, okay, how do I make it a piece of content that gives somebody exactly what they're looking for, and like that tells them in the first second of the video, like that they can tell what the video is about and like, why, how valuable it's going to be essentially.
100%.
And that was the main thing that we were trying to like get to. I was trying to figure out what is the most like refined like version of that is super hyper repeatable. And for us, it turned out to be kind of like a Twitter-esque style format where it has a small caption on the screen, not like caption in the caption of the social media app, but like a caption in the video itself. And then the video playing. And then that now is like really the format that ended up working. But essentially just like saying on the screen why this video is important. Like a hook, and then showing the actual like, valuable part of the founder.
No, that's super cool, man. I really like the idea of easy for you to do and a lot of value for your customers, basically your viewers. I mean, I think about, I met with two of our engineers. I mean, I'm close with our whole team, of course, but I met with two of our engineers and really learned how they think about pushing software to our platform. And it actually completely aligns with your thinking. Basically, when they have features that they're trying to build into the software, they think about two things. They think about ease, and then they think about value created, and they rate each one of those on a scale of 1 to 3. So say they have like 50 features they're thinking about building. They literally just go through that list and rank those two metrics. And then at the end, they have a list of things that are ranked 3 on both those metrics, ease to build and value created. And then those are the things they run with. And I think if you're not going through the exercise of prioritizing things to focus on, then you end up just building things that are maybe skewed towards hard to build and also not adding as much value. So if you can just optimize for the things that are easy and add value, like, I think that's such a cool way to think about things. It's something I'm trying to shift towards. Like, I like there's a Tim Ferriss quote where he says, what would this look like if it were easy?
Yeah.
And I like obviously building companies and things like that is extremely difficult, but I think asking what would this look like if it were easy is actually such a powerful question, because at the end of the day, sometimes the solution is less complex than you're making it. And so, yeah, I think that's so cool. And I mean, personally, like I do get a ton of value from your page. Like if I literally go to your page and I look at, hey, I'm looking for a certain piece of inspiration. Like I can look at that little frame and know what I'm going to get, and it's just this little nugget of information that's really cool. And I think that's what's cool about your page, because you don't have to like read super wide or anything. It's just this little nugget, you know? And it's so cool, and that can influence how you think about business and everything. I'm curious how you think about uh the content side of your business, because I think about like the Michelin story, how like Michelin tires created Michelin stars because they wanted people to drive more. I think about Stripe Press. Like I talked to the Stripe Press guys at the Stripe Sessions conference, and they were talking about how they created Stripe Press as a way to like inform business owners to be better creating businesses, and therefore people spend more money, and then therefore Stripe benefits. So how do you think about like the content side of Prism?
I think the main thing is, especially on like Instagram and TikTok, it's like the time, actually, honestly, on all the content pieces, like we do YouTube as well. So like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, but like the time to value, like trying to make that so low, like trying to make it so that like the ask that we're asking for them, we're not asking for that much of their time, or like asking for them, like, we're really thoughtful about what we're asking them for and conscious of their time. And then they click on the video and they can like get value from that immediately. They can help them in their daily life, or in their daily life as a high caliber founder or business operator or an athlete. Like a lot of our audience is as high level athletes too, or professional athletes as well. And so, but it's funny because that same content resonates for those archetypes the same, like, about these like high level founders talking about, we post their videos of like some of the top founders. That mindset stuff resonates a lot with the athletes too. It's kind of funny. Or like today we posted a video of David Goggins. We love David Goggins, and that his mindset resonates a lot with really high caliber business operators and executives.
Interesting.
And so like, but anyways, it's just like basically trying to give people value at taking as little time as possible from them to do that.
Yes.
But the way that like I really like kind of thought about it was, I was like, I just want to, when I thought about when I founded Prism, I was just like, I want to make like the coolest, like the best company that I possibly can. Like I want to make, and I'm thinking about it really long term, like I want it to be like really, really, really cool. I want us to be able to deliver a ton of value, like build really cool things in the world, like work with really cool people.
Yeah.
And the only way that I'm going to be able to like build the coolest products and like work with the best people is by leveling myself up. Like I got to become a better founder, and like and I have full reign. Like I can build the business however I want to. Like I need to make sure I'm building it in the right way so that we're optimizing for having really great product, really great design, and working with really great people. And so I was like, how do I become that? Well, I need to start studying these people that are the best at doing that. So like for me, that's like Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs and Elon and David Goggins. These people are like, those are the people that I want to like emulate. Not in everything. Like I don't want to be 100% like them in every certain way, like Elon or like Goggins in every single way. But there's principles from them that, especially the principles that they talk about that we post, like that I'm trying to emulate. I want to try to be more like that.
Yeah.
And I want, when I hire people, we bring on new hires, or whether those are humans or agents, I want them to understand the culture of Prism.
Yeah.
Like understand the culture of Prism really well. And like if you go through, and we have like 500 posts, like you can go through there and you'll get a good idea of like how we think about the future, how we're like positioning for the future, how we think about product, like how we think about like our customers and everything and competing. Like I feel like that is like publicly sharing the culture of Prism is like those documents. So it's like, I mean, I founded it because I wanted to pursue, going to the Olympics, the 2028 games.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to be the highest level athlete and founder that I possibly could be.
For sure.
And so I'm just going to study these things. I'm going to share what resonates with me.
Yep.
And that was kind of just how I approached it. And then stuff just started going viral. And I was like, oh, that format went viral. Okay, like let's make it more like that, And
yeah.
That was kind of how we kind of got to the format. But
that's very cool. One final question is, obviously you're a founder athlete.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you think about this kind of new era of like jacked founders who are like doing jujitsu and stuff like that.
Zuckerberg jujitsu, yeah. So I think Andreessen was saying that Zuckerberg has like AI cameras set up, like studying how he's doing jujitsu and like giving him like notes on it and stuff to make his jujitsu better. I'm like, I'm a pole vaulter. I'm like, I need to do that for pole vaulting. Like, I need to set up, like cameras and like the trace cameras, like some AI cameras and stuff, and like get my make my vaulting tech better and everything. I'm like thinking about that, but.
Yeah,
I think that it totally fits because these like the jacked founders like you're talking about, like these guys they're super AI pilled. Like they understand like how these things we're talking about, how much of an unlock it can be in your professional life and for businesses. But it's not just in professional, it's just about like doing things, like doing really hard things. Like AI is really a really good tool for doing really hard things, whether you're doing business or biology, or a sport, your training. It gives you really good advice, and that's the lesson that I think those guys kind of internalize, the jacked founders. They're like, oh, they're really good, I think, taking these learnings and applying them across their whole life. So like, this tool, this thing I learned from a mentor, this thing or whatever, maybe I learned it from a business mentor, but it applies to me training too, about like showing up early, like, finish, like just these principles and the culture of great business leaders. I think that carries over well to, if you apply those ways of being to training, you get pretty jacked, you get like pretty good shape. And like, if you apply it to like how you take care of your health and everything.
100%.
So I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's super exciting. And I think like, that's how we're going to really ratchet up our species, is by like everybody really maximizing that. Like, what am I really good at? What do I want to do? And in their health, maximizing their health. I think that's the age we're going into, dude. I'm so hyped. Like, we're both athletes. So I think it's going to be super cool.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I like what you said. I think the concept of mastery is so cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of universal. Like, I gave you the book Mastery by Robert Greene.
Yes, yeah.
And that's definitely a top book, where I think mastery is kind of this universal skill. Like, I think of also The Art of Learning, Josh Waitzkin.
Yeah.
And Josh Waitzkin is, for those who don't know, he was like a prodigy chess player when he was younger. I think they made the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer about Josh Waitzkin, and he doesn't play chess anymore. But he kind of wrote this book that talks about the formula for basically mastering any art. Yeah. And now he's like an advisor to the Boston Celtics. He's like a finance advisor. And he talks about just the common themes across all subsets of life. Like if you are learning to master, like you are pole vaulting, you can take insights from how you're mastering pole vaulting into how you handle your clients or how you build up your brand or how you run ads, things like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's at some level this kind of deep attention to detail, and really taking, like, just going deep into the details, and maybe not everyone notices, but if you kind of peek around these corners of someone who's a master and look at their work, you kind of notice this deep attention to detail, and that all stacks up into this amazing thing. Like, you might have spent some time on your Prism designs, like your Instagram, like really refining the design, and maybe it's not even noticeable to the conscious eye, but it's something that you notice subconsciously, where like this thing was really taken care of and tried to really bring it into reality in a thoughtful way. And I feel like that skill is becoming even more important, because people can notice these vibe coded sites, these vibe coded things right away. And yes, these tools are very powerful, but you can definitely I feel like the subconscious slop detector is definitely becoming real and fine tuned. So the
subconscious slop detector, it's totally it's coming.
Yeah,
dude. Okay, I think I gotta head up. That's so epic.